Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it seems like I've abandoned the SR500 project, but that's not so. I've worked on it a little bit along here. Today, I'm going to be getting the bodywork ready for the rest of the paint. You saw my video where I repaired the one side cover using 3D printed parts. In an earlier video, I had done some paintless dent removal on the gas tank. Although I did have one dent right up here in this corner that had a sharp crease in the bottom, so I had to put some filler in that one. So I've got it all ready to go. So we're going to take these things off the bike and we're going to water sand them one more time. I'm going to use a block sander and go over the tank and the side covers with 220 grit sandpaper. I'll show you a little bit of that, but I'm not going to sit here and point the camera at somebody sanding paint the whole time it takes to do it. The thing is just to be thorough and be careful while you're doing it. So let's go ahead and get everything started on that. Then when I get done with that, my paint booth is a mess. It's grown a bunch of cobwebs and it's become a storage area. So I'm going to clean that out and we will coat these things thoroughly with a coat of the Duplicolor Specialty Primer. And then after that dries, tomorrow the humidity is only supposed to be about 35% around here in my part of South Carolina, which is nearly ideal for painting. So we'll shoot this tank and these side covers back red. Not exactly the factory red, but it'll still be very nice. I think you'll like the results. Okay, I got the gas tank mounted on the stand here. I have a bucket of water. I have a sanding block with a piece of 220 grit sandpaper and a piece of 220 grit sandpaper folded. I'm going to be doing wet sanding that way, and that means that I won't need to wear a dust mask. It also means that the sandpaper will last longer. You can do this by dry sanding without wetting it, but the sandpaper will clog up quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take my ordinary paper, dip it in the water, and kind of go around all the details, like up around this gas tank, fill it. It's hard to see. It doesn't even matter if I sand all of every bit of this primer back off. The idea here is to fill it and smooth it. Then after this is done, I will re-prime this tank using a spray gun instead of a spray can with a much thicker primer for my final sanding, which will be the same process but done with 400 grit paper. Like I said, for the main parts of the bodywork, take the sanding block, this block sanding. You want to make sure you get every square inch of it. So this is the most important thing. At this point, your body work should be done and you shouldn't be having to bear down hard on it. If you've seen in my earlier videos, I had used paintless dent repair for most of everything. I only had one dent that I couldn't do. Like I said, back and forth. Keep wetting the pad. I'm having to be careful. I've got an injury to my left shoulder, so I can't just grab and do like I normally would. Put a bit of this thing here. Make sure everything is smooth and straight. Now it's time. This step is to help you do your final smoothing after the body work and help you detect anything else you need to go back over and perhaps add some putty to it. Anyhow, that's as much as I'm going to video for this step. But I wanted to show you guys how to get started at it. So I need to go back around all the edges. And then I will keep going over this. You can tell when you get done. One thing I am appreciative of is the fact that all through here was a series of dents that I was able to pull out with the glue-on paintless dent removal tools. Quite happy with the way that turned out. So anyhow, we'll come back to this video for the next step. Pretty much got the thing sanded off, but I do want to show you an example of a factory imperfection. If you will look right here, where my finger is, there's a little tiny wrinkle in the sheet metal. It actually came that way. That is not damaged at all. It appears that that was a production defect, so to speak, although it's not noticeable because it's under the seat stuff. If you're doing a full-blown restoration and you're trying to correct every single little thing like this, you're doing it wrong. And people that really know about these bikes will spot it. That being said, I'm doing a custom. But I'm not going to fix that either, because, like I said, it's hidden behind the seat. As you can see, I got everything set up here in the spray booth. I got the place reasonably clean enough. I've got the side covers sitting over here on top of some 3D printed paint pyramids. You can find these on Thingiverse. Go look for them if you've got a 3D printer. The tank is sitting here on the stand. Got everything kind of dust free. I'm not going to be filming in here while I'm spraying because, quite frankly, the overspray gets everywhere and it will ruin everything. Just remember, when you're doing this stuff, be safe. I have my own basic fume extraction set up. You know, it's not full-blown professional setup, but I'm a hobbyist. This is what I do for fun, and I don't do it every day. I've also got a respirator, goggles. I'm about to wipe all the parts off with lacquer thinner. Then I will mix up my primer and shoot the primer on it and give it a few hours to dry. That's all done. Doesn't look too bad. Had to spray a few test patterns with my gun there because this primer is actually kind of old and I had to thin it out 2 or 3 times to get it to lay right. But so far so good. I'll give this a few hours to dry. And then it will be time to sand it with 400 grit sandpaper. And then after that it should be ready for paint. Meanwhile, I'm going to go polish up one of my other motorcycles and go get some lunch. Okay, here you can see I've got the tank back out at the paint booth and I'm sanding it off to final primer. One thing I will tell you, when you're sanding your primer down, if you got any orange peel or any runs, make sure you're sanding them completely out before you paint. If you have any of that in your primer, I had a run in one corner. I have to make sure it completely sands out, because if you don't, a run in your primer will look like a run in your paint. Another thing I want to tell you is some tips on how to hold your sandpaper. The sandpaper, I'm holding it like this, as you can see my hand, never go straight across your fingers like that. That will leave finger marks. Always put your hands at an angle. If you have to, use your thumb to grip like that, to grip one corner of the sandpaper, and keep your hands crossways, your fingers crossways and flat. If you don't do that, you'll actually wind up with sanding marks. You can use a block sander some, but with a block sander, sometimes you have to work down in these little details and around these corners best you can. But when you're on the flat areas, like I said, keep your fingers at an angle to the work and keep your sandpaper flat. Anyhow, here we are in the paint booth. We're getting ready to spray the actual paint. We've already done the priming and sanding and everything is ready for paint. Once again, I'll go over the bare minimum safety equipment. You want a full coverage painting suit. This is a disposable Tyvek suit that you buy. These are normally meant to be disposed of after one use, but being thrifty, I'll use them 2 or 3 times before I dispose of them, as long as they don't get too dirty. But you need a respirator, and you need a pair of safety goggles. Of course, now you can also, if you want to spend the money, there's also respirators that cover your entire face as well too. Either way, but you got to be safe. When you're dealing with any modern catalyzed paint, folks, this stuff is extremely dangerous. Take all the proper safety precautions. Now for paint, I use TCP Global products. There'll be a link in the description where you can buy a lot of their stuff. Everything I have paint related comes from them, including these mixing cups. So let's talk a little bit about paint mixing. This is a 4-to-1 mix urethane, or it's optional. If you want it a little bit thinner, you can mix it 4-1-to-1. So it would be 4 parts of paint, 1 part of hardener, and 1 part of reducer. And the way you determine that, you should always use a mixing cup. These have different ratios: 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, and so forth, so on. So what I would do first is whatever line you want to stop at, whatever quantity you want to stop at. So let's say we want to do 1, fill it to the 1 there with paint. Then to the next one with a reducer. And if you don't mind spraying it thick, that should be all you have to do. I like to spray mine a little thinner so that it flows better and lays down more. You just have to be careful so you don't get a run in it. So that would be to the next one. So that would give me a mixture of 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener, and 1 part reducer. Now I'm not going to have the camera running here in the spray booth. Unlike some of the bigger name YouTubers, I don't have budgets for bunches of cameras, and the overspray would ruin this thing. But I wanted to show you the proper technique for holding the spray gun, because you don't want to start and stop the paint on the object that you are painting on. You want to start off the end, you want to press the trigger, and keeping your gun an even point away, an even distance away. So if you're following a curved surface, you would follow the curve and maintain that distance, which is usually about 6 to 8 inches. Going straight across, you would do the same thing. Spraying up around corners and stuff gets a little tricky, but it's pretty much the same idea. Keep the gun straight. Do not let it, here, watch my hand vertically. Do not go like this. Go like this. Straight across. That way, you follow the surface. Or if the surface is rounded, in this case, you would follow the roundness of it, but you would still maintain the same distance. So that's pretty much it as far as this goes until I get the actual painting done. Like I said, I can't afford to ruin my camera, so we're going to cut off here so you don't get any video of me actually painting. In the spray booth. Here we are in the spray booth. There's 1 thin coat on everything. This is just the first coat. So far, so good. Whew. Fumes are still kind of tough in here, but I got the final coat of paint on. That's pretty much going to be it for this video for this week. But as you can see, everything is nice and shiny. It looks pretty good. There's a few little spots of dirt in the paint that I'm going to have to buff out. But I love using a single stage catalyzed urethane just for the fact that it's completely so purely glossy that if I weren't doing a show bike out of this, if it were just a rider, I wouldn't even bother with the buffing step. But anyhow, it came out good. No runs, no drips, no error. So that's it for this week. Next time you see this body work, it'll be sitting on the motorcycle. So for now, keep riding, keep wrenching, and stay crazy.